Hi, it's Brian back again, talking more about the quick deployment paracord bracelets. Today we're going to talk about using the stainless steel chain shackles as a clasp, similar to how you would use a Fastex buckle on a traditional paracord bracelet. Using one of these as a clasp for a quick deployment paracord bracelet. This is a 1/4 inch stainless steel chain shackle. You can get these in the keyhole shape like this one is, or in just a straight U shape. Either one of those works fine, and I'll show you all how to use that right now. Starting off, I'm going to make a shortened version of a 3-strand paracord bracelet on this, just for the sake of demonstration, and then I'm going to go back and I'll show you all in my next video how to do the 4-strand paracord bracelet. But all of the paracord bracelets, you could make the 2, the 3, and the 4-strand on this shackle, and you use the exact same method. So I'm just going to show the 3-strand just for the sake of simplicity, I guess. You're going to size this exactly like you would any of the other bracelets, except that you're not going to take the knot and wrap the cord around it. You're just going to take, and you want to measure the diameter of your wrist, and that needs to measure from here where the shackle actually connects, where that post goes through. The measurement from here to where you fold is the diameter of your wrist. Now I'm not going to be actually using my wrist here, so I'm just going to fold it over. I'm not going to really worry about measuring it. It is a lot easier to make those measurements if you have this, if you can hold this and have something to wrap the cord around, like a piece of bamboo or something like that. Any kind of stick. You can take a 2x4 and nail nails in the side of it, and you can hook this on one nail and then wrap the cord around the other nail if you want to. That gives you a very good way to get your measurements correct. Anyway, I'm going to take this right here, just kind of prop it up and show y'all how this works. I'm just going to wrap it around. It's 1, 2, and 3. So now I have my 3 loops there already sized. Untangle the rest of my paracord from around this piece of bamboo. Alright, now this is still being shot from the perspective of if you were making this. I'm making this backwards for myself, and I apologize for the weird angle I'm having to hold this at, but I'll be taking the bamboo out here in just a second, and it'll make things a lot easier. Once you're here, if your measurement's not quite right, you can adjust it. You can just hold on to the knotted end and just kind of wiggle your stick, and it'll adjust back and forth, or you can pull on this if you need to shorten it, however you need to make that adjustment. Alright, from here, just like you did with the 3-strand paracord bracelet, you're going to take that cord around behind all of these loops, just like that. Pull all that through. Alright, so the cord goes behind all the loops, and then you pull it through just like that. Once again, creating a half hitch around all of your core strands. You tighten that up just like that, and once that is tight, you can take it off of your stick, put it off to the side, and you're ready to start actually braiding this. And you make it exactly like you did any of the other style paracord bracelets. You know, if you're making a 3-strand, you work it just like you did the other 3-strand, except instead of having just your knot hanging out here on the end, you've got a shackle. Now, if you remember from the 3-strand, when you're starting off, your first couple of runs are going to be a little bit loose, because you're going from the tight knot there to the full 3-strand width. So I'm going to do that. And then after your first couple of runs, you should have enough width in the bracelet to start tightening it down a little bit. Now you don't want to get this too tight because if you pull it really, really, really tight, you start cutting down the amount of paracord you're actually going to be able to get on the bracelet. But if you make it loose, it looks sloppy. So I'd rather have a little bit less paracord on here than have the bracelet itself just look like garbage. Just me personally. You can see how this shapes up exactly like the other paracord bracelets did. Now, this piece of cordage that I'm using actually still has an Ashley stopper knot tied here at the end. If you're making one of these with a shackle, I would recommend not using the Ashley stopper knot because it is so bulky. I would just tie a simple overhand knot in that, and I would tie it much closer to the shackle. The reason for that is if you just leave the paracord hanging out there on the end, when you go to break the bracelet down, it's much more difficult to grasp a short piece of paracord without a knot in it. But if you put the Ashley stopper knot in there, yes, it's going to be very, very easy to grab, but you're also going to have a big bulky knot right there at the clasp of your bracelet that's going to hang out, and it could possibly, create a pressure point on your wrist, which is not very comfortable at all. Alright. Now, since all three of these strands are hooked to a curved piece of metal, sometimes as you're working on this, these the loops that are hanging out at the bottom will start to become uneven. If that happens, then you can just grab whichever one is too short and pull on it, and it should even itself back out pretty easily. Once you get here close to the end, I found it's easier to flip the bracelet over. That way you can work on it like this. Alright. If you're making a full-size bracelet, or if you're using this same pattern to make a longer strap like a rifle sling or something like that, it's a lot easier to take this thing here and tie it off to something so you can keep tension on it once you get it longer. It'll save you a lot of wear and tear on your hands as far as having to pinch all the things together and hold them all tight all at one time. It can get pretty tiring over a long bracelet. Alright, so we're getting close to the end. Now, if you'll remember, with the 2 and the 3 strand paracord bracelet, the adjustability that you got was from this piece of cord and the knot. Now, since we don't have that as our attaching mechanism now, the way you're going to adjust your length now is through the loop on the end. So we've gotten to here. We've got just enough room on these ends to get our 2 passes of paracord through, just like the other paracord bracelets. So I'm going to pull that. I'm going to twist these loops so that they're facing to where this cord will pass through them. Just like that. Pull that through. Lock the bracelet off. Bring it back around. And pull it through again. I probably could have made one more pass on that to finish this up. But now, since this loop is not actually going to be required to hold a knot, you can make it any size you want. So from here, I could actually make this bracelet fit on my wrist if I wanted to. I just have to make this loop really big, because what's going to happen is this loop is going to come back here, and the post for this shackle goes through, just like that. So what you would do is you would put this around your wrist, you would loop the shackle through, and then you would adjust it to whatever length you wanted. Like I said, I could take this and pull this cord through. I could flare this out big enough to where it would actually fit around my wrist if I wanted to. So you adjust it to whatever length you want, and then you tie the knot here on the end, just like the other paracord bracelets. And now you've got that shackle holding it in place instead of the knot and the loop. Now, I did try some different methods for attaching this, and you can use a different method for this, and I'll demonstrate kind of how that would work. If instead of making this loop here you just took and passed your paracord through here once and then tied it off and left these loops a little bit bigger, you can actually pass this post through the loops on the end like that. The problem with that is, especially with this keyhole shaped shackle, is you have to be able to fit all three of those loops in between the opening of the shackle, which with this one and a 3-strand won't work. I could probably do it with a 2-strand. The other problem is if you just tie it off like that, this kind of stays loose. Let me stick that back there. You can also from the end here, instead of just leaving this loose, you can take your last hitch and run it in under itself like that, so that when you wrap around, you're actually forming a knot like this. And you can pull that in tight, and then you can cut that and fuse that off, and you can do it that way. But once again, these ends kind of stay really loose. You run the risk of this just pulling off the end if you have your bracelet off. And with the 3-strand, I still have the same problems with this shackle. So I prefer using the loop. It just works better, in my opinion. So undo that right quick. And of course, just like regular, you just grab the knot and pull once you get the knot unwedged from in between those shackle openings. Now the one difference is it's going to have to loop around that shackle every single time. So you kind of have to undo it from there. But it still works exactly like the other paracord bracelets. You just open it from the shackle, untie the loop, and pull the knot, and the entire thing comes apart. Alright, so that is the shackle as a closure on the quick deployment paracord bracelets. I'd had somebody ask me if you could use a Fastex buckle. You could make this style bracelet on a Fastex buckle, but it would not be quick release because you would have this buckle passing through those inner loops and you would not be able to pull them out unless you had a very sturdy Fastex buckle and you could cut out the side right here to where you could work it off of the loops. And there actually are some of these buckles that are made for straps that have a cutout there and are designed that way. So if you had a buckle like that where you could work this out of the inner loops, you could actually make that on one of these buckles. But I don't have a buckle like that, and with these little buckles like this for a 2-strand, I would not trust that. If you had a wider buckle that you could use for a 4-strand, yeah, that might actually be a pretty good option. But so that's my thoughts on that. Well, thank you for watching. I'm going to shoot a separate video for the 4-strand, and I will have that up as soon as possible. I'll see you on the next one.